right, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 12-Step Big Book Workshop. My name is Lisa, and I am a student of the 12 Steps Method of Recovery. My focus fellowships are CODA, Al-Anon, and OA. I'm so happy to be back with you all for another fantastic opportunity to take a look at our fifth step. So, please join me in the set-aside prayer with the willingness and the desire to have an open mind and open heart with the gift of patience as we tackle our fifth step. God, please set aside everything I think I know about myself, my step 5, and my inventory so that I may have a new experience with my attitude, my obstacles, my defects, and especially with you. So we're moving along to step 5, and I want to reiterate, do not be concerned if you're not at the point of step 5 yet. Keep working on whatever you're working on. Move at your own pace, and just, during class time, you're with the class. When you're not in class, do whatever you need to do or have to do. It's totally on your terms. So tonight it begins on page 72, and if you want to follow along with your book, that's where most of the information is. And we will be talking about step 5. But like I said, that doesn't mean we won't or can't discuss step 4. If people have step 4 questions after we do the PowerPoint, please don't hesitate to ask, or, if you're stuck or whatever, just let me know. Hopefully you'll feel the steps have been covered at least superficially, but I think so far it has been a thorough introduction, and we will do 10, 11, and 12 in review as we continue with the upcoming steps. I want to stress that my hope for you is to stay engaged no matter how far you've gotten, and keep in mind that whatever your plan is to finish, try to stick to your plan. If that means you've figured out by this time next year your 4th step is done, that's your plan, stick to it. The next few steps have very little work to do, so they'll seem like they fly by until we get to the 9th step. So you do have a little bit of a break, so to speak. But again, remember, the 12 steps are a constant. So no matter where we are, don't fret. Anybody could jump in at this venture right now and not miss a beat. So what we're looking at in the 5th step, 5, 6, and 7, is the removal of obstacles. As was mentioned before, steps 1 through 3 are the foundation, and the knowledge that we don't have sufficient power. By now, we realize there is a source of sufficient power, and that I can have sufficient power through my faith. Those 3 steps are all about our relationship with our concept about that power. Bill W. didn't require belief in a traditional God. He stressed an open mind for a higher power, which needs to be anything greater than yourself, including nature, your weekly group or daily group that you go to. It can be your religion, any deity that you believe in. Thereby, it allows the atheists and the agnostics to find power through God as we understand them, or good orderly direction to achieve sobriety, emphasizing surrender of self-reliance for recovery to an unseeable power. The Big Book itself, when examined carefully, supports the emphasis of action over belief, stating, "Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path." Bill said that on page 58. The emphasis is on thorough action, not theological assent. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideals, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. And it reminds us that the obstruction to recovery lies not in an intellectual doubt, but in the clinging to self-will and old patterns and behaviors. Through a rigorous inventory, fearless amends, and sustained service, we can access a genuine power, an awakening of conscience, courage, and clarity without recourse to a supernatural deity. Bill later realized the vital importance of the flexibility inherent in the 12 steps when he wrote his broad statement with its allowance of us to recognize, and I quote, God as we understood him, that it was perhaps the most important expression we have. He wrote that in a 1961 letter. If you're struggling with your concept of a higher power, are you willing to accept that we are possibly not advanced enough intellectually to understand what created us? Clearly, something has created the universe that we can't explain, but are we willing to accept it as an unexplainable force and tap into it? We don't have to name it to claim it. We just have to know that there is just absolutely something beyond ourselves. We don't even have to know what it is. We just have to know that it exists and we're willing to turn our lives over to it. So we spent weeks on step 4 identifying and analyzing to get to the exact nature of our resentments, our fear, and our dishonesty to bring it out into the light. Steps 5, 6, and 7 are about the removal of our obstacles. We think of it as the sunlight of the spirit. And those obstacles are the clouds that block the sunlight from shining through to us. Steps 2 and 3 identify that there is a spiritual sunlight within all of us, and that this is the antidote to the darkness that is within. That darkness, whether you define it as your addiction or not, because you are relatively new or you haven't found your connection to grace, or whether you're just addressing it again, you are essentially looking at unmanageability in the darkness of the soul when we become embedded with our addictions. That is the darkness in us that prevents us from having happiness and joy, preventing us from having lives that flourish and are abundant. I believe our birthright is joy, and we arrive perfect, and then life happens, and the memory of perfection fades. Step 4 identifies to us the clouds in us that block the sunlight within. And steps 5, 6, and 7 will diminish and remove those clouds. The Big Book promises the removal of resentments through prayer, and also for the removal of fear through prayer, and lastly, the removal of dishonesty, both with self and with others, also through prayer. So we've talked about the spiritual arch. Bill talks about it up until, I think, the 5th step. And this is an arch through which we walk through to a new freedom, which was discussed back on page 47. Bill implies that the foundation of a spiritual arch has a cornerstone, and he calls that the willingness. He doesn't call it specifically step 1, nor does he use the word defeat, but step 1 is thought of as that step that invites us to and nearly demands a surrendering of the white flag, meaning I am defeated by my addiction, and then less obviously and more intelligently, I am done in by my unmanageability. This leaves me defeated to my addiction until I am gracefully placed in a position of neutrality within my addictions. Unmanageability defeats me again and again and again when I try to use my own power, even if I have been placed in that position of neutrality with regard to my addictions. Bill says on page 85 that we've entered the world of the spirit. And yes, we have come through the spiritual arch and we've entered the world of spirit. And yet, we are not cured. We have a daily reprieve, one day at a time. And that will never change no matter how much work we do, what step we're on, or how much we clean up our lives. We will always only have that daily reprieve, one day at a time. And we're not cured. Excuse me. Remember, we only have that daily reprieve, and that reprieve has been called one of the best kept secrets in the rooms. We even often forget to remember that it's there. Step 2 was the decision of faith, the cornerstone, which is the first stone placed to begin that foundation that begins the structure of the whole arch. Then we hit step 3 in the arch as the keystone, that important decision to turn from our self-centeredness, which we saw as our unmanageability, to other-centeredness, which we see as a vision proposition in steps 11 and 12. Other-centeredness is step 11 with the capital O for other, other-centeredness with a small o in step 12. Divinity being some kind of power other than ourself, and in step 11, our humanity based on principles and helping others is step 12. Step 3 is the commitment, the decision to turn, the decision to have a relationship, but it is a commitment also to do this work, specifically meaning the next steps after 3 are 4 through 9. Bill doesn't mention the spiritual arch again until step 5, which we will see today as we advance through the material in the big book. And Bill does say, now we have passed through the arch to a new freedom. Notice resentment being set as one of the building blocks. Fear, resentment, and unhealthy sexual behaviors are the obstacles that block the sunlight of the spirit. Those are the metaphorical clouds that block the God spark of light. In wrapping up step 4, we took a look at dishonesty, secrets, and shame. It's been a lot of work and is likely still a lot of work for most of us. This is not just about understanding all of these components in the spiritual arch, nor just analyzing them in our heads, but actually doing this work, meaning we work on acceptance. We talk with a trusted person about what makes up our foundation. And you are all the warriors, being 6 months into your excavation of your eagle selves. I can see the freedom in your minds from the first half of the first step and addiction freedom from the second half of the first step, freedom from unmanageability. This is your arch. You walk to freedom, and we hear our internal voice inside asking us, how free do we want to be? Yes, ask yourselves again, right now, how free do you want to be? How enjoyable is it being half in and half out? To me, that's torture. I'm an extremist here and choose. I can't half-ass it because I will get half, and that is worse than where I started because now I have the knowledge and I know the cause and I know the relief. So why don't I choose to be all in? My desire is for you to finish your 4th step in a relatively timely manner in the time that you can manage, not on my schedule or anyone else's, but not to be put off with excuses, but completed so that you are free. Then we can embrace the 5th step, because if you finish your 5th step, historically, you will reach the 9th step. More people reach the 9th step after finishing the 5th than any other step. If you finish your 4th step, you have a high probability of effectively finishing your 9th step. Then likely within a year, freedom will be on the other side of your 9th step. And not just freedom from whatever your addiction is doing to you or for you right now. Freedom as a general statement. You are just free from all the old issues that have been in your life. Because everything we want is on the other side of the 9th step. Therefore, we have to look to step 4 as the catalyst. So work hard to complete it. It is the doorway to your freedom. And what does freedom look like to you? For me, I am free of fear when I leave the control to the power, to walk in faith, not in fear, to be who I am genuinely from the inside out, not the old facade I have portrayed. Big Book doesn't use the word confess, but this is more than a conversation, more than reading it wrote to someone. So confess fits. We need complete transparency in order to get beyond this disease of secrecy and lies, which is why the fifth step is so very important. So to prepare for the fifth step, it's recommended to read and highlight pages 72 to 75. And if you have the 12 and 12, read and highlight chapter 5 also. So begin with your set aside prayer and then read or have the person who is giving his or her fifth step, unless it's yourself, those pages and start with the first paragraph. Then I would suggest reading every other paragraph, alternating with the subject, whether they are listening or you are listening. It's a great way to ready both parties for the fifth step ahead. And it's not a lot of reading, so if you want to take the time and do it, everybody has their own way of doing the fifth step, but it helps to stay focused on what the fifth step is really all about. On page 72, Bill writes, having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? Well, we're going to be transitioning from step 4 to step 5. Then he says, we have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path. This was addressed in step 3. Remember on page 55, he said, with this new attitude, you cannot fail. Search diligently, think honestly, search fearlessly, and with that attitude, you will not fail. He says, we have admitted certain defects. We have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. This is our analyzing and writing them down in step 4 inventories. In step 5, we admit them to another person we trust to listen to our inventories. So we have ascertained in an informal way what our troubles have been, which we have brought to conclusion in the turnaround in step 4. This reveals the exact nature of the facts and the motives and our beliefs about the sources of our problems. At the beginning of the workshop, you may remember I asked an important question. What is the source of your suffering? I didn't explain what that question means, but now we have a much clearer view after step 4 was uncovered and revealed the source of our problems. It wasn't as we expected because resentment, fear, and inappropriate sexual behavior issues are not the source. They are the smoke that represents the source. Under every one of those defects is selfishness and self-centeredness. And we saw that in black and white on page 62, the root of the problem. But once we finish our 4th step, we have seen in Technicolor what the trouble is. On page 62, it says, my troubles are of my own making. That is the outcome that we see in looking at our resentment, fear, and dishonesty. The ball starts rolling on our selfishness and self-centeredness as we have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now these are about to be cast out. This is not a loose term when I say removal, just synonyms based on what the Big Book says. So this requires action on our part, which, when completed, will mean that we have admitted to all, to God, and to another human being. You can admit anything to your higher power. It will be a secret between you and them or it. We have admitted to ourselves, and up until this work, it has been useless because we were easily able to con ourselves. Not intentionally, but unconsciously. And let's not forget, Our will always chooses us. So when we feel like we're making that choice to use or not, it's not us, it's our will, and it's run rampant. We have been clueless, and the thought of admitting it to another human being raises a few red flags. It feels like there is danger in this concept of showing our every deficiency, all of the embarrassment, and the exact nature of our defects, and not just the behaviors. So let's be very clear about what the fifth step is. On page 59, Bill says, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. It is not about our stories because we need to cut to the chase. We strive to get underneath the underneath because we want to know the source of the problem. And the story gets us sidelined from our honest discoveries. This is potentially very difficult, admitting our defects to another person. As we read our fourth step inventories that we transfer it into our character defects, we will be addressing when we get to the sixth step, right on the heels of step 5, so don't worry. Steps 6 and 7 will only take us a couple of hours at the most, and as I said, the steps move rather quickly after step 4 ends until we get to the 9th. Bill doesn't generally hammer things home, but he does on page 70 in regards to unhealthy sexual behaviors. He said, if you continue that behavior, you are going to use again. On page 72, he says, the best reason first. If we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking or using. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives' secrets, trying to avoid this humbling experience. Doing a fifth step would really be called enjoyable, no matter how many times we do a fifth step. Talking about our embarrassing moments can give us an uneasiness when talking to whomever we choose. Bill says the alternative is, so they turn to easier methods and almost invariably, they got drunk or used. Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. We think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. That's page 73. A lot of people do take the fourth step, but never do the fifth step. I don't know what that's about, but it is very common. So try not to do that. The fifth step is technically as well, they're all important, but the fifth is as important as the fourth. They definitely go hand in hand. Bill says they took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought, meaning they were in denial. They were delusional in the illusion that is either conscious or unconscious, which doesn't matter. They had lost their egoism in fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves. But they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone else all of their life story. As an alternative, you could do your fifth step like an autobiography, which can be a good warm-up, not a scripted reading of your behaviors, but a bullet point of your life. We read this out loud to someone, and we have likely spent weeks or months preparing our fourth step, and we aim to read it in one setting. And that's true of all fifth steps. It should be something that happens in one sitting. As you are reading it, you are also hearing yourself read it out loud, which is really amazing because you're admitting it to yourself, even though you don't realize it. It is not a hard and fast rule, as there are no rules, but doing this in one sitting is the optimum way to reap the most benefits from it. If your job is to hear the fifth step for someone, you will only need to listen. This is not a teaching moment or a therapy session. It is like a confession, for lack of a better word. When you're the listener, you might participate 10% of that moment, of that interaction. 90 to 95% should be the person giving their fifth step. As the listener, we can take notes of things to discuss after they have finished reading, but we do not interrupt them. It affects their train of thought and their flow. We read or listen to the first column of the resentment inventory, the column 3 entries, and then read their fear inventory. We do this in privacy, away from others' ability to listen, as this is a very sacred event and should remain private. On page 73, Bill says, more than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much the actor. To the outer world, he represents his stage character. This is the drama we have talked about, the false self, the ego. Some call it Jekyll and Hyde. These are terms you are likely used to by now. Bill goes on to say, this is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. We have instincts that tell us that we have colored the truth, and we give ourselves an awful lot of leeway and even use the term white lie, or need to know, or we lie by omission. There is the truth, which is factual in nature, and then there is everything else. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. Coming to his senses, he is revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. These memories are a nightmare. Bill goes on, he says, he trembles to think someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside himself. He hopes they will never see the light of day. He is under constant fear and tension. That makes for more drinking. Tension is the overarching word for the fourth step. Any area that creates tension, because we as addicts know how to deal with our tension, we know how to soothe and reduce our tension. We numb it with our addiction, whether that's substance or behavioral, which makes for more addiction. It is such a vicious cycle. Bill says psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics in their chance for recovery. So we must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world. Notice Bill doesn't say if we are to be successful with our addiction, because addiction is not the problem. Unmanageability is the problem. Living is the problem. Life is the problem. And reality is the problem, but not the addiction. Bill says, rightly and naturally, we think well before we choose the person or persons. And this is what Bill suggests, that you might want to give your fourth step to more than one person when he suggests person or persons. Some people actually do give their fifth step to multiple people. For one reason would be to see how it works, maybe as a preliminary one. But some people just like to do it more than one time to just really get it to stick, which doesn't do any harm. And if you have a particularly long fifth step, having done it more than once or twice probably would be helpful, or to break it up into different timing. A normal fifth step is a couple of hours. So Bill continues, such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. There may be an instance where you can tell your sponsor everything except maybe a feeling of resentment towards them, because, of course, doing so might negatively impact that relationship with your sponsor. In the case of severe or heinous cases, it is recommended to seek legal help with a lawyer, therapist, or clergy. Those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must, and of course, will want to go to the properly appointed authority whose duty it is to receive it. Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with someone ordained by an established religion. We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem. Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics. We want to give our fifth steps to somebody that has experience, but is not connected to us in any type of personal situation. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be that one is so situated that there is no suitable person available. Well, given that we are on Zoom and have the internet, and even if you have a unique fellowship, there would still be the phone, social media, Zoom, all of that. So Bill's statement is a little dated because it's really, there's really no reason that you can't find somebody to give a fifth step to, even if you had to jump in a Uber and tell them. If you had to, you could. So yeah, so you'd be hard pressed not to find someone in this world to give your fifth step to. It is not to say that you need to give it to or accept it from the same fellowship, although that would be the best scenario. Bill says, if that is so, this step may be postponed only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity. We say this because we are very anxious that we talk to the right person. It is important that he be able to keep a confidence, that he fully understand and approve what we are driving at, that he will not try to change our plan. But we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. So he continues with, we waste no time. We have a written inventory and we are prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we are about to do and why we have to do it. But why do we have to do it? Well, our very lives depend on it. He should realize that we are engaged upon a life and death errand. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence in them. This isn't therapy or just a nice thing to do. This is sacred work. The person's life is at stake. Our very life, and not just our sober life, but our physical life is on the line. Bill says we pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we will be delighted. I like to emphasize the statement of light into the darkness and the revelation of any secrets in transparency, any source of embarrassment or tension. Even if you've talked about a secret before with somebody else, if it is a source of embarrassment or attention, I suggest that it be talked about in summary form. You don't have to go into big detail. You can just touch on it. So we begin our fifth step by reading our third column resentment inventory. And depending on how many resentments there are, the question will eventually be, Are you or are they seeing the pattern? Then the amount of resentments can be reduced to a manageable number, because anyone who's gotten through all the fourth step resentment inventory realizes that there is a pattern. The pattern is our own. So we go from thinking we have resentments towards maybe 100, 200, 300 people. People have actually done that and realized that there's only one person that's to blame, and that's ourselves. So then we'd go over the fourth column. The third column reveals the lie, and the fourth column reveals the truth, which becomes the source of the turnaround. And we don't get into stories. For instance, when going over the sex inventory, we don't get into the story or into any graphic details. As you know, the sex inventory is not about having committed sex. It is about motives. It's about behavior and principles and the impact this has on other people and inevitably ourselves. And if you need to, take a break midway for both of your sakes. As I said, an average fifth step is around 3 hours. So plan ahead. You don't want to stop because you have to grab something to eat. Put a snack right nearby if you need one. At the conclusion, we go over the fifth step promises. Bill says, we can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. He says, we may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. We get that feeling of being on that broad highway. We feel that we are in the world of the spirit, walking hand in hand, in a partnership of recovery and faith. Bill then recommends returning home. We find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our hearts that we know Him better after this experience. And take the time to be quiet, such as in a meditation, and review what you have just accomplished. Express your gratitude to your higher power, thanking them for the opportunity to know them better and a feeling of a deeper connection. The gratitude is really important to express. Bill says, taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps, which is page 59. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals. Bill uses the word proposals, which are steps 1 through 5. And he says, we ask, again in prayer, if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Remember the arch we have seen in the PowerPoints? That's what he's talking about. Bill then questions, is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? To answer these questions, we sit in stillness and do a review of the first 5 steps, remembering what our experience was with each step. And he speaks of these questions as he would a building, the stones, the arch, and the foundation. Our foundation of willingness, the prayers, the openness, the transparency, and did we skimp when we made the mortar that sealed it all together? And we ask ourselves, have we left anything out? This is the 5th step prayer. It is, Almighty God, my inventory has shown me who I am. I admit to my wrongs, yet I ask for your help in admitting my wrongs to another person and to you. Assure me and be with me in this step, for without this step, I cannot progress in my recovery. With your help, I can do this. Amen. And this prayer, as all the other prayers, can be somewhat tweaked to your each individual needs. If you don't have a God as your higher power, you can put whatever you defer the power to, you can put right at the beginning. Um, and it's a good idea, maybe as you're in those few days leading up to your fifth step, to say this prayer, to ensure that you're going to be open, that you're going to be willing to have what's about to happen, and to have the gratitude that you're able to release this, to just let it go. When this is no longer a burden or a big pain in your back, life becomes so much more enjoyable. And this fifth step is how you really get there. Because it's great to do the fourth step and show everything out in the light. But the fifth step is what lets all of that go. So it's really important. Don't just do your fourth step and think, wow, that was so hard. I'm good. I'm done. Uh, let's do something different. No, no, no. You really want to do your fifth step, because in even just the reading of it, it is such a release, and it's such a strong release. It would do such a disservice if you did the fourth step and didn't do the fifth step. And when you're with the right partner who's going to listen to your fifth step, as I said, you're going to do 90 to 95% of the work. So don't be afraid to sit and read this stuff to somebody. It's not about them pointing things out or correcting things or asking you why you did the things you do. It's just for them to listen. It's for you. It's your release. It's your cleansing. It's like when a Catholic goes to confessional, it's the same type of thing, except you won't have any penance. So definitely don't skip the fifth step. And we are at the end. So hopefully I can answer some questions, or we can have a discussion, whatever anybody would like. And I see, Jill, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Great. Hi, thanks. I have two questions. Well, I have a share and then a question. Question first. You mentioned that something is 4 was a lie and something was a truth, but I missed that. What did you say there? It was. Do you remember what that was? It was
Yeah,
around 9. Go ahead.
Step 4. I'm going to look it up because I don't want to say it wrong. Step 4 is the lie. And step 5 is I think it's the release, but let me make sure.
You said that the third column is the lie and the fourth column is the truth.
Here you go. Thank God Rochelle's taking notes.
And that truth is about the turnaround. That was what you said there.
Okay.
Which, when you hear it that way, doesn't that sound just perfect?
It does.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I thought I heard that before. Third column is the lie, and the fourth column is the truth.
It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's about the turnaround.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you think about that, when we did that, when you've done your first third column and you don't know what's going to come about, and you think this is the truth, these are all my truths, these, this is why I do what I do, and then you figure out that, oh no, that's all the lies that we've told ourselves to be okay. It's phenomenal. The process is phenomenal to do that. I think, I don't know, when you get to that next column and you realize, oh my gosh, everything was me, it makes life sense. A lot easier.
Right. So my next point is about step 5, and that one of the things that clouds me in the whole process of step 5 is that I fear judgment. that's clouds my, like, my whole life, really. I have a hard time being honest because I expect judgment. And, I've worked through that. So I've now come out of it and I see the freedom. But I just wanted to put it out there that it's not really talked a lot. How do you get around the fact that, you could be judged, and you'd have to find a very special person that might not, even if they're not going to judge, if you're doing it face to face, you might see an eye roll or a shock or something. And that's just makes me, I'll speak for myself, it makes me so vulnerable. And it's a very tender thing, but I have gone through it. And luckily I was with somebody who was kind, and I've actually kind of, did some other work with step 5. So I've gotten out of it so that I've had some experiences where I didn't care whether or not I was going to be judged, which
Right,
is, I've really grown out of it in my work. And so I've been able to be my true self more,
right,
and
right.
speak my truth, and I know that's what you're talking about with the freedom. But
Yeah,
it's the, you
that
know,
is where the freedom comes from, is the truth, because there's so much baggage which goes with the dishonesty. As far as the judgment goes, Jill, it is recommended that you use a person that has done a fifth step themselves already. So you wouldn't grab a newcomer in the program and say, "Hey, can you listen to my fifth step?" Because they might not know that they shouldn't be judging. But anyone that's done a fifth step already themselves, or sat for somebody to do a fifth step, knows that there is no judgment, there's no comment. It should just be a listening experience for the other person. But the second thing I'll remind you of is, nobody is judging you, you're judging yourself. So you could do a third and fourth column on that feeling and probably come out of it a lot healthier than what you're thinking. And lastly, what I want to say is, if anyone wants to do a fifth step with me, I will do that with people if they want to set up a time, and I'll do the fifth step with them. I'm not saying I have to do it. I'm offering it to anyone that feels like they just need somebody to do a fifth step with them.
okay. Thank you for, appreciate that offer, and thanks for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thanks, Joe. Go ahead, Rochelle.
You know, I can't remember. Okay. I wanted to thank Jill also. I remember when I did I was in therapy, and it wasn't even exactly doing my fifth step. I was just unloading some stuff, and I thought, I just waited weeks. I mean, I just tried to get my nerve up, and I thought, this is going to be the worst thing she's ever heard in her life. This is like, I mean, I wasn't a serial killer, but short of that, this is going to be the worst thing this therapist has ever heard. And when I finally said it, I swear to God, it looked like she was yawning. And I had the same experience when I listened to my first fifth step from a sponsee. And she said, "You're going to be almost exactly the same words. You are going to be so horrified. I don't think I can say this. I don't think I could say this in public." I said, "You're not in public. We're here. It's safe." And we went through this. And then she said it. And I thought, well, when is she going to say the bad thing? And she said, "That was it." And I went, "That was it?" Because I think we all think that, we wouldn't be here if we thought we were perfectly wonderful or whatever. But a lot of times it's not the worst thing anybody's ever heard. And that's where I was. I just thought, they're going to judge me. This is the worst thing. They're going to throw me out. I mean, they're going to have me arrested, whatever. And it's like never that way. That's the freeing part, I think. When they do yawn and they say, "Oh, that was it." That really freed me. Like, I
Yeah,
wasn't the worst person on the planet.
yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I agree with Rochelle. It's I've done quite a few fifth steps, and a lot of people say that they think, "Oh my gosh," when you hear what I'm going to tell you, and you wait, and then it's over, and you're like, "Wow, nothing was even that bad," you know.
Did you ever hear a fifth step though that really scared the hell out of you?
I have,
Oh,
I have, I did actually once. Yeah, it was something that a therapist and a lawyer and a police officer probably should have handled, not me. But it happens, and it you just listen, and I don't judge because I don't stand in judgment because that's that saying, we're all one thought away from murder. We get all the way up to that feeling. We all feel the same feelings. We have the same thoughts. And the one thing that sets us apart is that one moment in that where that action takes place. But we all feel the same feelings.
You
We're
know,
all
I used to go to a Sunday morning meeting, and it was a small group of women and one guy, Big John. And a woman came in and wanted to be at the A meeting, and John said to her, the A meeting starts in an hour. And she said, well, I'll sit and listen to this meeting. And then she kind of acted up, and John said, I really think you need to step outside. And she pulled out a gun. And I thought, whoa, this makes the fifth step seem minor,
yeah.
I mean, she was waving this gun around, and I thought, no, no, no. That,
Wow.
that was a moment.
Oh, that's sad for her. Well, hopefully none of us will have to call the police or, the loony bin or whatever for anyone. But generally speaking, we all judge ourselves so harshly and we think that our stuff is the worst. But if you can remember to the time back in the beginning when you first started going to meetings and you would hear people's stories and you'd go home and you'd think, oh boy, I thought I had it the worst, and my life's not so bad. I heard some stuff tonight that was really difficult to even hear. That's how the fifth step is. We as the people that hear it, we go through this process and we go, boy, I've heard so much worse than what I just heard. It's not as bad as you would think. You're not as bad as you think. There's a lot of people out there that have been through, trust me, way worse or done way worse. Absolutely. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I just had a quick thought related to what you were saying. I heard in one of the programs, I heard in Alan on one time that a lot of times we think that the stuff that we did is like this big like blockbuster, but really it's just a home movie. So I just
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't be afraid of judgment. Like I said, anybody that's done a fifth step before, which is who you should work with, understands how the fifth step works and that there is no judgment. There is no, there really isn't even any commentary. I mean, sometimes the person giving the fifth step might say, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? And you can comment. You don't have to, though. You can stay neutral. So, it's you could do a whole fifth step and barely speak any words as the listener. So just make sure you find an experienced fifth step listener. I don't know what they call them. Fifth step, the opposite of the person giving it, the listener, I guess, is the no, for lack of a better term. So, anyone else have any questions or comments? As a reminder, I don't know if I sent this home in an email. Next week, Jill, I'll get to you in 1 second. Next week is 2 days before the holiday, and the following week is a day or two before the New Year's. So we will not meet until January. And that does not mean that you guys all have to go crazy and try to catch up on your homework. It's not that important. just do the best you can. That's way more important than any homework that you'll ever do. Go ahead, Jill.
Thanks for a reminder of the meeting dates.
I'll send out an email too, but I just want to mention it.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thank you. So another thing that I remember I worry about in the fifth step work is my confidentiality. I'm very confidential. I'm very private. And when I share this, even if the person, people are humans, they're not robots. And so they could make a mistake and make a connection or say something. And that's been kind of hard for me to get my head around as far as sharing and things because of the trust and confidentiality kind of thing. So I have had in my experience in recovery so far, I think 3 times when my shares have been broke, my confidentiality has actually been broken. And I've seen it happen with among others in groups over times. People aren't perfect. Well, the first couple of times I pretty much freaked out when when it happened, and I did everything I could to try to erase what was out there, and did what I could. And then the last time though, which just happened a couple of days ago, and I think it's because of the work, my confidentiality was broke, and I immediately, my first reaction was like it always was, all these curse words came to my head and I wanted to scream at the person and everything. But instead, within 30 seconds or less, my higher power spoke to me and said, I accepted my feelings. I immediately, like, yes, this is real and this is an invasion of your privacy. I heard my higher power say this to me, not literally, but kind of literally, and then immediately said, you're going to learn from this. There's going to be something that you're going to learn from this. And I was like, are you kidding me? What is this? What? It's like, I'm like I'm in sequence, synchronicity, whatever it's called, with my higher power, and giving me this like I was calm when my anonymity was broken and everything, and I was like, and I said to the person, I'll figure this out. That was what I said. Thank you for letting me know and being honest, and I'll figure this out. And I went and gave myself private time to put my head around it and breathe and connect with my higher power. And there's a domino effect for me. I experience when my anonymity gets broken, other people know about it, and then they reach out to me, but they shouldn't be reaching out because shouldn't know about it in the first place. But anyway, so I got contacted all about, all this is happening, could you tell me more? And I'm like, you're not even supposed to be knowing about it. I don't want to tell you any more. You're not even supposed to. But you know what I did? I said, I think this person needs to hear more. This person is needing this. And I said, maybe I can share in a way that maybe I can, generalize or something so that I can kind of fix it while I'm sharing. So I said, well, it's not really this, it's really this. And they go, well, you're not really telling me what I really want, because they're pretty smart people. So they're really pushing me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to, and these are all people I interact with a lot, and I don't want to be rude and I don't want to scream at anybody anymore. And I kept thinking, okay, my higher power says, this is something you want to learn. So I spent 2.5 hours quietly composing what this person wanted about my confidential stuff, which was basically a summary of my just a summary of what I've learned and everything, and my experiences in recovery. And so I was able to summarize it in such a nebulous way without giving any concrete it took 2.5 hours because I would write something down. And I go, no, that's too personal. Boom. And I switch it and switch it. I came up with such a beautiful summary of my recovery without giving any personal details that I was like, this is a gift. I never actually took the time to do this. And I said, I can send this and not feel embarrassed by that things were shared. I can be proud. I'm actually proud. And it started with my anonymity being broke, whatever you however you, and it I sent it. It was well received, and it was so tender yet not breaking my anonymity that I decided to send it to my children who don't really want to hear much about my recovery. So I was like, I can share this with them and they can get a general sense without me, overdoing it. So anyway, I don't know where I'm going with it, but I hope I shared it enough that it's kind of clear that even that I think my recovery work has helped me to even accept this kind of trauma, whereas before I couldn't because I'm my higher power is trusting that because not everything's going to go the way I want, even though I do such good work, and I
Yeah.
was able to turn it around and learn from it and then pass it on to my kids. And one of my kids came back and responded, wow, I really want to give this the attention it deserves, but I'm really busy with blah, 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 blah. And I will respond later once I really look at this. Thank you for sharing this. I have one child who's not responding, but everyone does their own thing. But I did my own thing. I turned it around. I never yelled. I never screamed. How could you do this? How could you know this is confidential stuff? I didn't do any of it. I just accepted this as another avenue for growth. And I actually did grow from it. And now I have this great little summary of my recovery that I could share if someone else came. And maybe that will help someone else someday. Okay, thanks for the opportunity to share that.
Jill, that's a great story. And I hope when you really look at it, you see that thing that you feared of losing your anonymity turned out to be a blessing in disguise and hopefully gives you the courage to not wonder about stuff like that again because you're protected in a supreme way. It doesn't matter. Anonymity doesn't matter when you're supported the way you are, clearly.
Huh,
So
I never thought of it like that, but that's appreciate that comment. Thank you.
yeah, you went through what you saw as something extremely difficult, and it turned out to be something an extreme learning experience, and it helped other people, and it brought you closer to your kids. I mean, to me, it sounds like it was a fantastic thing. I mean,
Right.
it probably started out as something extremely fear producing, but in the end, you had the support you needed to face it, and what you faced wasn't anything like what you feared.
Right. And that's part of the worries of fifth step work. And like you said, find somebody who's done it before,
Yeah.
who's trustworthy. It's
Yep.
not just pick someone in the yellow pages.
No, because somebody that doesn't understand the process might be rolling their eyes or grabbing, who knows what motions they're taking, but there is a lot of expectation on the person that's listening, more so than the person that's reading off their fifth step. It can't just be anybody. It would be like walking into a church and instead of giving your confession to the priest, you gave it to somebody sitting in one of the pews. That would be a similarity. It
Right.
has.
I also feel like I developed trust in myself through that, that
Mhm.
I can protect myself
Yes.
from something that normally I felt I would just be a victim to. I can't control other people. And if I'm going to, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to cross my fingers. But even if something doesn't go well, because I went through that experience, I kind of feel like I have a larger chest and I'm taller in my posture, and I'm like, I can go into something that I thought before, I don't want to take a risk. I can take more risks because I can take care of myself. But I got to give myself the time. Like it took me about 2.5 hours to write that and to think about it and how I wanted to write it. And I don't usually give myself that kind of time. And so that's part of the process too, is giving myself the time. That's self-love.
Absolutely. And maybe one of your character defects is your need to be invisible. And you might have to look at that if you're struggling with anonymity issues and they're showing up. Stuff shows up so that we can work on it and we can deal with it and get past it. So maybe this has been a struggle for you for a long time. And now here it is out in the open to be healed and for you to learn how to cope with it. And your life will never be the same if you go forward. It won't, it can't be, because you've
Right.
overcome this immense fear that you've carried for so long.
Yeah. In doing the work, I've realized I didn't even realize things I needed to overcome that I'm overcoming.
Yep.
And I know I can't go back. I don't want to go back. I don't even want to think some of the ways I used to think. And I just love moving forward. And I even love if I get in a mistake, because like I say, I kind of know I'm going to become a better person because of it.
Exactly.
So it's just very cool.
Exactly. I have a little sign that hangs in my house. It says, "There are no mistakes, only lessons."
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I feel that
I
way too.
I firmly believe that there are no mistakes. Thank you, Jill. That great share.
Thank you.
So, any questions about step 5, step 4, step 6, 1, 2, or 3? Anything? Okay.
I have a,
Then we.
have
No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
a quick question.
Yep.
With this format, do you suggest we do the hour break out of the big book? So I've been working on the 5 the whole time. So I'm
Okay.
probably going to wrap it up this weekend. Should I do the 5 hour break that they mentioned in the big book, or
Um.
I mean the hour break that it says, like, we sit for an hour and review what we did, and then we do 6 and 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're running through the steps, then that would be definitely something that you'd want to do. If you're doing like a step a week, then you don't have to worry about it. But you do want to, at the end of your own admissions, have some review about what you've just done and really look at the stuff that came up, how you felt about the stuff that came up, how you felt about releasing it, and ended, of course, with the gratitude that you had the opportunity to let it go and let it be done. Um, but as far as taking a break, if you're having a long session, like Bill suggests, most everybody suggests do it in one session. If you're 2.5 or 3 hours into a session, you really probably do need to take a break. And the person that's listening probably needs to take a break, even if you just need to go to the bathroom or grab a drink or something. Because that's a long time to be doing this. It's pretty heavy emotional work. But if an average fifth step is 3 hours, that's the average. Most people probably will get through a 3 hour session without needing to take a break. But there's no hard and fast rules. If you're an hour in and you need to get up and get a breath of fresh air because you're just feeling like overwhelmed or bogged down or so many other things that you could be feeling, that's fine. Especially if the person that's listening can accommodate the timing. If somebody's like, "Well, I've only got 3 hours," you're not going to want to take an hour break. But if you have the opportunity, then do it. You'll know when you do it that day. What is it? What are you feeling when you make the choice? Is this all right? I'm going to do this fifth step with this so and so, and I'm figuring it's going to be about 5 hours. I'm going to plan for a break. I'm going to have them insert one in there. But everybody's, is different. And if you've done a few of these after a while, they can be really quick because once you let it go, honestly, it's gone. You're not going back. It doesn't work that way. So if we've done a few fifth steps and we've let go of a lot of the character defects and the wrong thinking that we came in with, it's going to be a pretty quick process. And some people get to a place where they don't even do fourth and fifth steps anymore. They just do 10, 11, and 12. And that I would say that's pretty much the goal that everybody wants to get to. I mean, it's not bad going through the 12 steps, but we probably could think of something else with method too. So, you got to be your guide in all of this. If you feel like, if you look at it, you say, wow, I think this is going to be 6 or 8 hours, you might want to downscale it. Are there resentments that have the same pattern that you don't need to go over because the pattern is what you're addressing, not the events? So if you've got, some people say to me, I have 200 resentments. Well, you're not seeing what's right in front of you. You've got to see the commonality, because the commonality is ourselves and our own thoughts and behaviors. And that's what we have to address. So if we're off on a tangent of so-and-so and so-and-so and this guy and that girl and blah, 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 we're not ready to do the fifth step because we're not realizing that the fifth step is about ourselves, not the other person. But believe me, I have people working on their resentments at 100, and I'm saying, you're not understanding the process, and they're not. So when somebody comes to me and they say, oh, I've been working on this for a while and I've got 200 or 300 resentments, they have not been working on it. They've just been collecting names and collecting resentments. And that's not the point. The point is they're not the source of the problem. We are. And yeah, that sucks, but it's also good because that means it's in our hands. We can make the difference. If it was somebody else's fault, we'd have no say in the outcome. So it's one of those good news, bad news things. So during the break, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the time away. And if you want to work on your stuff, go ahead. I don't expect you all to show up in 2 weeks and say, I did all the homework, I'm completely caught up. I would prefer you to say, I didn't have a chance. I was spending time with my family. I was enjoying my newfound freedom. I was really understanding what goes on during the holidays from a different place in my heart. I'd rather hear that than, oh, I got to do all my homework. Because it's really not about it. It's about these 12 steps and understanding the underlying meaning to them. Some people could do homework for the next 2,000 hours and not get it. So just get the steps. If you can't do anything else, read the lesson. Read those. If you can read it's usually 3 or 4 pages. Just do that. That's more than enough. It doesn't have to be crazy. All right. So is everybody good? All right. Let's end with a serenity prayer. If you guys want to unmute. God,
God,
grant me the
God,
serenity
grant me
serenity
serenity
to accept the
to
things
accept
the
things
things I
I cannot
cannot
change,
change,
the
courage to
courage to
change,
change the
courage to
things
change the
I
things
can,
I can,
and the
and the
wisdom
wisdom
to
to
know the
know
the
the
difference.
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 excellent.
Happy
Everybody have a
holidays.
wonderful
Thank you.
holiday.
Thanks, Lisa.
I'll
Thank
see
you.
you in the new year. All your new faces. I can't wait.
Bye.
Lisa.
Matthew, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Let me know if you need anything.